A lot of people have asked me to share my journey in becoming a witch and how I found witchcraft. So I thought today I would tell you a little bit about my journey to becoming myself. If you don't know who I am, hi, how are you? My name is Ethony and I am a practicing eclectic witch. I'm a high priestess, tarot professional and author. And I've been practicing the craft for over 25 years. Boy, am I old. So I always knew I was a little bit of a strange child. As a matter of fact, I asked my sister and she said, yeah, you were a weird kid. Now, when I was smaller, that was something that I really struggled with. I always had nightmares. I had extremely vivid dreams. I still do have extremely vivid dreams. I could sense energy around people. I was very empathic. I had spirits come and visit me all the time. And I knew things that other people did not. I also see fairies and spirit also in nature. Now that made me a pretty strange kid, and I was bullied very badly in elementary, or what we call primary school in Australia, because I didn't fit in. Thankfully at home I had pretty understanding parents, and they taught me the importance of having good self-esteem, took me to meditation classes and gave me crystals to help support my sort of empathic self. So while I really struggled at school and I didn't have many friends at all, when I was at home, at least I had some sense of building a good foundation of self-belief. Through this feeling of not fitting in and not feeling like I really belonged anywhere, I did eventually find a church group. So there was an Anglican church in my neighborhood and I started to go there. I was very young. I was probably about 11 years old, and I took myself to church on the weekends and really wanted to be a part of a spiritual community. I also got myself christened during that process. My father was raised Anglican, but he didn't really come from a very religious family. So at least I understood sort of Christian beliefs as a 101 basis, you know. So I started to go to church, but I found that I didn't fit in there either. I asked a lot of questions, and when I asked specific questions, the answers I got back really upset me, and I ended up leaving because I felt like it was extremely judgmental and it was something that didn't fit my feeling of what a divine intelligence, great spirit, the gods, the goddesses, the all, the oneness, the spaghetti monster in the sky would really feel like, or really would do as far as the whole judgment after death thing. So I left the church. At age 14, when writing an English paper on the witchcraft trials in America, I went to the library in Perth, the state library in the city, and I found this book called The Learned Art of Witches and Wizards that was amongst all the other books on witchcraft. And this book talked about the craft in a way that was not connecting it to with evil or bad things. It was talking about the divinity of nature and how we can live in more closeness and connection with the world around us and feel as though we are a part of everything and not separated from it. And I felt like I was home. I remember that every single photocopy was 10 cents, and I photocopied as many pages as I possibly could because you couldn't take books out of the state library. So I photocopied as many pages as I possibly could and went home and read and read and read it. And then I started to find local shops in Fremantle. Thankfully, there was quite a few. I looked online, and let me tell you, when we all had Angel Fire and GeoCities websites, there was nothing. There was hardly any information. There were some trailblazers, absolutely. But compared to what we have now, it was very hard to find information. And I just started to soak up and read as much as I possibly could. I remember reading the Celtic Magic book and the Teresa Moray witchcraft book on the way to places, and I'd hide them inside another book on the bus so that people didn't know it's like reading about witchcraft. So I did as much as I possibly could to soak in as much information as I could about the craft, because I finally felt like I was home, like I'd found something that clicked, and it was like, oh, this is what I've been doing all along. Oh, this is why I've been feeling the way I've been feeling. This is why I collected rocks as a child. This is why I wanted to like I could sit up in a tree and just like stay there for hours. This is why I was obsessed with nature. This is why I saw fae or why spirit would come to me. It was all like, it all just suddenly made sense, like finding a decipher for a cryptic puzzle that you had your entire life. At that point, there was no turning back for me. So once I started to get a very good understanding of who I was, I self-initiated and I started to look for training. I wanted to also meet other teen witches and really find community. I don't know if any of you have noticed, but community is a very big part of who I am. I've always wanted to build communities with people and connect with people. I'm a huge extrovert. So I started a teen witch group. I'm pretty sure that website still exists somewhere on the internet. And I started a teen witch group and I met with parents, even though I was still very young. I was like 17. I met with parents so they would like ensure that I was not some crazy older person trying to like scam their kids. We had Sabbats, we formed a coven. It was all very, very the craft, circa 1999 for me. And I really started to find other people. And then from there, I found the Combined Coven Social Club, which is in Perth, Western Australia. They're still around. I'll pop a link below where you can go and find them. I have made lifelong friends through the Combined Coven Social Club. I started to work at the Sun, Moon and Stars. I found Gail, my tarot teacher. I found so many people. I found Tamara Lampard, who is a civil celebrant and a teacher and a high priestess. I found all these people and I felt very, very included in this community. And it was wonderful. It was like I spent over 10 years being a part of the pagan community in Australia. Throughout this whole process, I did worry a little bit about how coming out of the broom closet was going to go with my friends and family, especially very early on. I was afraid. So when I told my best friends, they were very supportive and still were. I was kind of blessed as well that things like Charmed and Practical Magic and the craft all started to come out, so I could have conversations a little bit easier because there was a media representation that we could enter into a dialogue about. That was helpful to have conversations, and people have always been very supportive of that. With my parents, I didn't tell them. They just found my Fiona Horn books under my bed when I was on a band camp, and they found all my witchcraft stuff hidden under the bed like it was porn, like I was stashing porn. And then they actually took it all out from under the bed and put all my books on the bookcase, and my dad read some of the books to make sure that everything was okay in there. It wasn't anything, you know, dangerous, just doing his dad duty. And my mum was really happy because she hates organized religion, and it kind of went over really, really well. I was really fortunate. I understand that not everybody was, but my overall experience of coming out of the broom closet with people that I've worked with, when I have shared that with being public, I was on TV, radio, newspaper, all that sort of stuff in Australia as a very open witch, even though I had corporate jobs as well. Well, a corporate job career that I held down was very positive. So I was very, very lucky. The next big part of my journey was when I moved from Perth to Vancouver, Canada, and that was nearly 8 years ago. So when I moved, I left my entire community. I left a working coven, the Sacred Circle of the Inner Flame, and soul sisters that I found over 10 years of practice and I still love to this day. I left a community that I was accepted and a part of, and it was very difficult, and I left lifelong friends. But I moved, and then I got pregnant very early on after I moved, and then my entire life changed. I had to rethink and readjust to this new, not only new location where the hemispheric change meant that all my seasons were now more aligned to the traditional witch's wheel. So in the Southern Hemisphere, you have to switch everything around 6 months, where the magic of the earth felt different, where I knew nobody. So that was very jarring and quite difficult for me. So what I did do was I started to look for local stores again. I found friends through there. I did pagan pride. I started to do psychic fairs where I do readings, and then I started to teach spellcrafting and some of my actual teaching classes as well. When my son arrived, I got very bad postpartum depression, and it was undiagnosed for a long time. And that was also a big struggle, because not only was I away from all of my family and friends in Australia, people I've known my entire life, I was raising a child essentially on my own, halfway across the world from my support network. I was struggling to keep my head above water emotionally and mentally, and also I felt like my magic wasn't really firing on all cylinders. And I've heard this from people before who have suffered from depression and had depressive episodes. They feel disconnected. So it took a while for me to recognize that it was postpartum depression. I went to a doctor. I got a medication. I started to go to therapy, and I really got back on track. But those are those essential self-care practices that you need to take if you really are beginning to feel like you're not coping. And, nearly 7 years later now from when my son was born, I'm still on medication for depression and anxiety, and I feel completely connected to my magic. It hasn't dulled my senses. It hasn't cut me off. I actually feel more like myself. Know that you can absolutely practice a craft even if you have to take medication. Don't let anyone tell you what's right for you. Find the right doctor, find the right medication if that's what you need, and take care of yourself. On top of all of that, I also knew that I did not want to go back to the corporate world. So I worked in a corporate job right up until my maternity leave. And then while I was getting ready for maternity leave, I knew I didn't want to go back. I wanted to, if I could, be there for my baby, have those early years together, as much as possible. When he went to school, pick him up from school, drop him off. I just wanted to be a part of his life in that way. So I started my business online, and that ran the gamut of a lot of different things, of doing the psychic fairs. I opened the Tarot Readers Academy, and the tarot classes that I was teaching before, I moved online. That was the very first thing that I did. I started to offer tarot readings. I started to build my social media presence. I got on YouTube, and I was doing all of this while raising a child, essentially on my own, and being depressed. So when I look back at it, I was like, no wonder I was tired all the time. And it was a hard road, I'm not gonna lie to you. It was a lot of working at very weird hours. And then I started to publish my own decks as well. So I did the Prince Lenormand Oracle, then the Awakened Soul, and then the Bad Bitches, and the rest is kind of history from there. So I did all of that on top of trying to adjust all of everything else in my craft. The other part of my craft evolution was starting the Awakened Soul Coven online. So I did that because I moved away from everybody, and I realized, becoming a mother who felt isolated, was that there are a lot of other people who are around the world who don't have a community, who might live in an area where it's not accepted to be pagan and out. So there's not a lot of people. So I created the Awakened Soul Coven online as a way to bring people together as a community. And thankfully, I think it's been 6 years now, we are still thriving and growing, and it is a full training coven. We have curriculum, we do full moon rituals, there are meditations, workbooks, all that kind of stuff. I've mentioned my coven a few times, but if in the past in different videos, but if you want to learn more about my coven, there'll be information below as well for you. Through the trials of moving, becoming a mother, doing a lot on my own, starting my own business, creating a life for myself, I realized through absolute experience the entire cycle of creation, destruction, recreation, rebirth, all that whole thing, because I transformed my entire life. I moved, everything about my body changed when I had a baby. I am a mum now, and I'm a business owner. I had to really take care of my mental health and my physical health, and I built a community. And what I've really understood through all that, with my magic practice being that foundation, with that spiritual side of myself being a huge foundation for who I am throughout this entire thing, is that your craft, your magic, your witchcraft, your paganism, your Wicca, whatever you choose to use as a label for yourself, is that I like what I like. I know what feels right and what resonates magically for me. And I really know that it doesn't matter what other people think. And I'm very much in myself, and I feel very comfortable in myself. And I'm very blessed. I'm very fortunate, and I know I'm very privileged as well. But I'm also hopefully using some of those blessings that I have to connect other people, to share positive messages, to be a support system, to create community, and to show representation in all of the work that I do. So I'm attempting to be the change that I want to see in the world. And that's one of the things I've always wanted to be, is to walk with integrity, to know who I am, and to really try as hard as I can, I know I'm not perfect, to create positive change. So this is my new normal. My new normal is being very visible in the community and doing what I do daily. Magic is now not only a part of who I am underneath, like when I had a corporate job, yes, I had crystals at my desk and I did tarot readings for people, and like I said, I was very out of the broom closet. But now it is my new normal 24/7. I talk to you all about magic and witchcraft. I offer classes and courses at the Tarot Readers Academy, and I have obviously my products as well, and I love to share as much information as I possibly can. So this is my new normal, being a full-time witch. And you know what? That was never the intention when I started. If you told my 14-year-old self, which was a long time ago, oh my God, it was over 20 years ago. Holy crap, I'm old. If you had told my 14-year-old self when she found that book at the library that she was one day going to be doing this, I would have laughed. There would have been no way that I would have thought that that would happen. I'm so thankful for my journey. I know it hasn't ended. Who knows what the next 20 years is going to hold, but I hope that in listening to a little bit of my journey, it maybe inspires you if you are struggling, or if you feel disconnected, or if you're not really sure where you fit any at the moment, or you're still trying to figure it out. Because guess what? I'm still trying to figure it out too, and that's okay. Life is messy, magic is messy, and just keep following your own true north. So do you want to know how I balance being a mother and a witch? Make sure you check out this video where I go through some of my favorite witchy mum practices. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you click to subscribe and hit that notification button so you'll know when we post new content.